Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. That means it's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, what a weekend of rugby we've got ahead of us. We've got the URC Quarter-Finals, we've got Super Rugby, and of course we've got the Currie Cup. Plenty of betting odds to talk through. And I've decided to limit it to just one guest tonight. I've got load shedding hitting at 10, and although it doesn't really totally knock me out the show, you never know what's going to happen when the power goes off. So we've got the unders taker, Henrik Swart. Henrik, good to have you back on the show. I know you've had a hectic week.
Yeah, week work-wise and my children, sport and stuff. So yeah, I'm ready to have a go at
Great stuff. Well, I am battling all of a sudden to hear you a bit, but I don't know. My Wi-Fi has been
really
bad this week.
Okay.
And I'll let the guys in the live chat just say if they're battling. Lots of the guys on the live chat already. Good to see you guys there. We're going to get straight into the action now. Yeah, Henrik, if it is a problem, you can always try go out and come back in, and I'll waffle on a bit while you do that. But we're going to start with Super Rugby Pacific. And yeah, the problem might also be my side. As I said, my Wi-Fi hasn't been great at all. And let's get going with the first game now. We've got the Highlanders up against the Chiefs. This, of course, under the roof in Dunedin. We've got a points line of 57.5. I saw Southpaw on the Good for the Game forum saying he's finding himself tempted by the overs there, but he just feels it might be a point or two too high. And obviously a handicap here of 13.5. Chiefs have been absolutely perfect this season, 9 from 9, and they are strong favourites here against the Highlanders. What's your views on this one, Henrik?
I see a few of the guys saying that I'm not that good, so yeah, hopefully I'm better. If you can't hear me, I'm all right now.
Yeah, I seem to be okay. We'll let you know if you break up. It does sound like a little bit better.
The Islanders, I see at Mitch Hunt, the free 10. They've been really battling this season. Game, New Zealand teams, you really legit handicap. Lots of respect for the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they've played brilliant, so well coached. As well, I see Anton Leonard Brown is back, and obviously that for me is a bit of a concern. Yes, I believe in that. It's very superstitious of me. It's just like there's so much side shows for the team that they sometimes battle to focus on the game. Alex Nankivel coming back, he's on the bench as well. But they both have well. Yeah, I think I can't make a case for the plus. I don't think for the Islanders. So 13.5 looks too low. What's the points here? 57.5. So, what's the Islanders points? About 20.5 thereabouts.
It'll be what 22 plus 7.5. It'll be around about 22.5. Yeah, it'll be about 22.5, 23.5.
Let me quickly. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. So yeah, the Chiefs, they've been quite good on the defense. The Crusaders could only score 24 points against them last week. So that 21.5 looks really high for the Islanders team struggling, even though that. So yeah, on points, I'd look at the unders there. Who's the ref on this one? Ben O'Keefe. He's a solid unders ref these days. All these games, I think it's Reverend who brought up a stat a few weeks ago about Ben O'Keefe. With all these unders games, and last week again, the draw against the Blues, the unders cruised with Ben O'Keefe on the whistle. So I definitely have a look at that unders on Islanders points. Chiefs defense has been very good. So yeah, I like the minus and I like the unders on the Islanders points.
Looking at the boys in the live chat, it does seem as though everybody, I saw Johan likes Chiefs points. Farid saying Chiefs have picked their first team, go for them. So quite a few boys coming in with the Chiefs. I'm not going to argue. For me, it's Chiefs on the minus here is my play. Not a game I'm going to get particularly involved with, and that doesn't. Well, that's because I do fancy quite a lot of other matches this weekend. Henrik, we'll get on to the next game now. This is the Fijian Drua up against the Hurricanes. But a handicap here plus 11.5 for Drua, of course, playing at home where they beat the Crusaders in week 3 and put up a pretty decent account of themselves. I think it was last week as well. And we've got a points line of 64.5.
Yeah, 64.5 and 11.5. Last week against the Blues, I think I think I'm correct in saying the game was in Lautoka, and this one is in Suva. And Suva for me is better for the Drua than Lautoka. They just get a better crowd there. They just play better. I'm looking at the weather prediction for Suva. It looks good.
I saw some humidity, I think, is fairly high, and I think there could be some rain about here, Henrik. I had a quick look as well.
Yeah, I see the humidity almost 80, so that is high, 30 degrees. Yeah, so humidity might be a bit of a problem. Rain, no, very little rain predicted. I don't think there'll be a lot of rain, but obviously the humidity is a big problem with those temperatures close to 30. The Hurricanes have been playing great rugby. Who's the ref here? Jordan Way, Australian ref. Won't be much of an issue with him. So, what's the draw points? I think the Hurricanes might. I think the draw will be better. I think they can score 4 tries here. 25.5 draw points. I think over is the way to go. The humidity obviously a bit of a problem for the total points. I think the draw can stay in the cap here with a very good Islands team. A Hurricanes team. They're playing very good rugby, but I think that the draw can stay in the cap here. They were unlucky last week not to stay within the cap against a very good Blues team. Plus for me, and also over some draw points on this one.
Right, interesting. I'm going, well, not against you on this one because you're going overs on draw points. I like unders here at 64.5. I think that's just a couple of points too high. And I do think that conditions are not going to be easy and that at some stage, and I think it was Reverend mentioned here about the second game in Fiji, are they going to have the legs? I've got a feeling things might slow down a little bit at some point, but I'm always nervous. These are the sort of games you got unders, you can be made to look stupid very quickly as the tries sort of rain in from both sides.
Or a genius.
Or a genius. Well, let's hope we're going the genius route. Right, Henrik, let's move on to the next game. We've got Crusaders minus 28.5. This line has moved out from 25.5. And, of course, Crusaders naming a strong side. Will Jordan, we're going to see him back in action for the first time in ages. And, I mean, I remember the days when a player came back from injury, you didn't expect him to be at full speed. But these days, it's very different with the conditioning of the players. They come back and they pretty much ride up to speed straight away. So their cap has shifted a bit here, and we've got quite a high point line of 63.5. I have checked conditions in Christchurch, and it's an early kickoff, and it looks like absolutely great conditions here. Shouldn't be any problems, Henrik.
Yeah, the only problem might be Brendan Pickerel, but these days he's not as bad as he used to be a year or two ago. Will Jordan coming back, like you said, and like you say, these days the rehab of the guys and the conditioning is so good, they just slot back into it. All the talk about Will Jordan. Brent, I might be against the grain a bit here, but I like the Force a bit. I think the Force can stay within 4 tries here. I'm not convinced about the Crusaders this year. They're not the Crusaders of old, in my opinion. Plus for me, and I'm looking for Force over 16.5. I see 17.5. I'd like 16.5. So you have 2 converted tries and 1 penalty. I'm in the Force camp here. I'm sure I'll be in the minority, but I'm opposing the Crusaders more than taking the Force. I'm going against the Crusaders here.
I must say, I saw quite a few guys on Twitter coming out in favour of the Force. Although when I dug a bit deeper, a few, but when I dug deeper, they were all Australian. So we perhaps got to just take that into account as well. I must admit, the cap's too high for me. I quite like your Force overs play here because I can see the Crusaders scoring plenty. I think their line is about 45.5, 46.5. But no reason why the Force can't contribute here. They've certainly been, for me, an improved team this season. Known van der Merwe coming in saying he's also on the Force. Right, we'll move on to the next game then, which is the Blues. We got another big handicap here. Not the most competitive week of fixtures, I must say, in the Super Rugby. We've got the Blues, Henrik, minus 25.5 against Moana Pacifica, who, of course, 0 from 9. And a points line here of 56.5. I did have a look at the weather in Auckland. And I don't think it's bad, but I think there could be the threat of a drop of rain here or there on Saturday.
Let me quickly check the Auckland weather as well.
I must say, I trust your website. I trust your website more than I trust mine.
I like checking YR. This game is on Saturday, right? There won't be any rain. Well, 0.2, 0.3 millimeters. That's not really rain. So yeah, the New Zealand players, they're so used to playing in those kind of conditions. Moana Pacifica last week, I was on the Rebels on the minus, which luckily came through, and I was also on. I think I took some unders on Moana Pacifica points, and in the end, that tanked early on in the second half. They came with a flurry, and they actually threatened to win the game in the end. So yeah, that was interesting, but they have been really poor this season. The Blues have made a key change with Harry Plummer starting at 10 and Bowden Barrett shifting back to 15. I like Bowden Barrett at 15 more than at 10. But gee, it's tough trusting Harry Plummer. I'm not a big Harry Plummer fan.
No one trusts that guy. It's amazing, eh?
Yeah, he's a lot like Marnie Lebok, in my opinion. Yeah, can't trust him at 10. So yeah, the Blues, all right side. Sorry. But yeah, you have to go against Pacifica here. But 25.5 is big, eh? Oh, with the Blues team that has changed a few players, I think points might be the way to go.
Even 56 over 43.5. That's my
that's a good bet. And I even think that that the Moana might contribute here. 56 looks low for this kind of game, because the Blues, when they played the Waratahs in Auckland in rain, the Waratahs scored 3 tries. I think they scored 21 points there easily. So the Blues do ship points as well. So I actually like that 56.5. I like the 56.5 more than like the Blues for 43.5. So yeah, I probably will stay out of the handicap here, but I like that 56.5 a lot. I didn't see the points line before we came onto the show, but that I would have thought that this would be in the 62.5 thereabouts. I would price the total point.
Maybe they saw the same weather forecast I did, Henry. Because my one, but you're right. I mean, it wasn't high rain, but perhaps it was just enough to keep the bookies down. But I tend to agree with you. I mean, we've seen some rainy games where the points have absolutely flowed in Super Rugby.
And maybe we should just keep an eye on the points, but on the weather prediction. But I think that overs is the way to go. Yeah, even overs on tries. What you probably get 8.5 tries over 8.5 tries, and I can easily see 10 or more tries here.
And it's interesting because I've taken a view a couple of weeks ago in the newsletter. I went for tries as opposed to points. And some of these games I look at, and you just don't see any penalties being nailed. Like, you get a feeling if the Blues are right in front of the sticks in the 3rd minute, they're going to kick to the corner.
Yeah.
And maybe Moana, if they get a penalty, they might go for it early. But ultimately, they know they're going to have to score tries if they want to get anywhere near this Blues team. And if you can find those games, the value is often in going overs on tries rather than the points. The only negative there is sometimes the lines are set in such a way you can get overs, but you've got to take a price of like 4 to 6 or 8 to 11. That type of thing. But definitely, I think worth having a look at that. I do like the Blues here. I think they're going to win convincingly. But you've twisted my arm on points here, Henrik. I like your logic there. I do think Moana Pacifica can score.
Because Moana, if the Blues points 43.5, then Moana Pacifica will be about 13, 14. So you'd expect them to get 2 tries somewhere along the line. So yeah, I think the overs on points, on total points, better play than the overs on Blues points.
Well, I'm quickly going to unfortunately my monitor doesn't work when I do the show, so I can't look at both ones. I'm quickly looking to make sure I got that points line correct. And I got it wrong, Henrik. I must apologize. It's a typo.
Okay.
Sorry, all of this chat is for nothing. 66.5. 66.5.
66, okay.
Okay. That changes things.
That does change it. Then I'd rather go. What is the Blues 43.5 correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I think.
Then I'd probably take the Blues points there, because you don't want to be what's the English word for Vankler? You don't want the Moana Pacifica to score to get your bet. So I'd rather go 43.5 than and not.
Sorry, even that it looks. I did see. I thought I saw 43.5 somewhere, but I see 46.5 now. So I'm going to probably be a bit careful of it.
I'd still take over 46.5 Blues points more than over 66.5 total points. Yeah. So Blues, but not as confident as I were. But Blues points there.
Yeah, apologies for that, guys. I can imagine loads of guys racing to their bookies to try and get to 56.5. But that was my error. I typed that up just beforehand. And I'm going to bring the next one up to get you started, Henrik. It's the Reds -2.5, Waratahs 56.5. In this case, 56.5 more than likely is correct. What do you make of this one?
Waratahs to win the game for me. The Reds, they just covered the minus handicap against the Force last week. They got a late penalty to deny me. I was on the Force plus. But I'm not a fan of this Reds team this year. And the Waratahs, they've been impressive in stages and more often than not. So I like the Waratahs to win the game here. And a lot of these Aussie derbies have had points, and I see Angus Gardner is the ref here as well, and he's in my opinion he's an overs ref. So I'd have a look at Waratahs points and Waratahs to win the game. And Waratahs to win the game, one of my stronger fancies on Super Rugby this week.
Well, it's interesting because this is one of my stronger fancies as well. I also like the Waratahs to win this one. I think they're around about the 12 to 10 mark, somewhere around there. You might be able to stretch it to 13 or 14 to 10. So Henrik and I both aligned on that game. Let's move on to the final Super Rugby game of the weekend. It's the Rebels plus 10.5 against the Brumbies. Points line here, 62.5. And I did look at the weather in this game, and I must confess I've totally forgotten. I got a feeling it wasn't too bad, but I could be totally wrong on that one. Are you having a look there?
Yeah, I actually checked it yesterday, and it was fine in Melbourne for Sunday. This is a Sunday afternoon game, if I'm correct. Let me see Sunday. Oh, no, it's rain predicted. Yeah, but we'll have to have a look at later because it looks like most of the rain is in the morning and overnight, not a lot in the afternoon. So luckily this is one of our Sunday games where we try and recover the weekend losses. So we'll have some time on Sunday, late Saturday evening when we're stalking, or Sunday very early because it's an afternoon game. It's probably 7 o'clock our time thereabouts. Like I said in the previous game, lots of these Aussie games have been overs this year, and James Dolman is the ref here. He's the biggest overs ref in the competition. He's a massive overs ref. And the Brumbies have leaked a lot of points. The Rebels have scored a lot of points. They've leaked a lot of points. So in my opinion, this is a out and out overs game. If the weather holds, Brumbies have picked a very good team. They have Pete Samu back, and a few other guys as well. But I like the Rebels again here. Home game for the Rebels, double-digit handicap on this very impressive Rebels team this year. I give the Rebels a chance of rolling the Brumbies here. I think the Rebels can win this game, so I like the plus a lot here. I think I would have priced this as Rebels plus 3.5. This is at least 7 points to hardest handicap. And I'll obviously have a look at Rebels overs, probably rather than total overs. So Rebels overs, I can't remember. I checked it, but I can't remember. Let me quickly check it.
While you're checking it there, I handicapped this game Rebels plus 5.5. So in theory, I should be on the Rebels. I must say that I was actually leaning the other way. I was leaning towards the Brumbies. I just like the side they picked. And I've got a feeling that the Rebels are sort of, I don't know, going to maybe hit the skids a little bit, but not a confident call. And certainly, if I could say that if I was putting the bet on, I just pulled the handbrake up quickly, and I'll certainly ponder it before getting involved. I'm saying Rebels 1 to 12. Yeah, and that'll be a nice price because if your Rebels do, you can't see them running away with it. So you should get a pretty big price on that one. No one from America coming in, Brumbies all the way. So we got a proper split, both, if I could say, on the panel and in the live chat on this one.
Yeah, and I like the plus a lot here, Brent. And like I said, I give the Rebels outside chance to win it. This Rebels side, they are very well coached. They've got very good players in key positions that are playing very well, and the young players that's going to make the Australian squad for the World Cup. Carter Gordon, he's been brilliant. A guy like Andrew Kellaway, key player for them. Rhys Hodge playing good rugby again. Trevor Saya, the lock. Then both the hookers playing well. So I think in the set pieces, they are one of the better teams in the competition stats-wise with their scrum and their line-out, especially the line-out. And the Brumbies, they are a structured team. They like their lineouts, like we all know, in the malls and stuff. But I checked now, the Rebels points 25.5 at home. I can see the Rebels scoring more than 25.5 points here. I like the Rebels. I probably like the plus more than the overs, but I like that overs on Brumbies as well. But the plus a very strong play for me here.
2M systems coming in. Brumbies will sweep the Rebels away. I like that one. We'll be shouting. I'll probably be shouting out the Brumbies. Were you there? Right, Henrik, let's move on to the Currie Cup First Division. It's the Rhinos against the Cavaliers. I know you've done quite a bit of research. No, I'm only joking. I'm not doing the Currie Cup. I just wanted to watch your face as I brought up the Currie Cup. We'll move on to the URC quarter-finals now. I won't throw that Currie Cup. I don't even recognize some of those teams' names. Sure. But we got the quarter-finals of the URC, and I must say I've got a few bets I like here, but interested to hear your views. The first game, this takes place Friday night. We got Ulster up against Connacht. Ulster minus 10.5 on the handicap here, and we've got a points line of 50.5. I don't know what your forecast is here, but from what I can see, it's going to be cold. It's going to be a little bit of rain about. This looks like tough conditions to me.
I haven't checked the forecast, to be honest, Brent. I stay in Cape Town, so I can tell you what Cape Town will be like for the Stormers game. But the other games, unfortunately, I haven't checked the conditions. So I'm going to trust you on that one.
After that typo earlier, I don't know if trusting me is the best move.
Yeah. Sure. Interesting one. I've always been a bit of a Connacht fan, and Ulster as well, to be honest. And I see both teams have picked strong teams, obviously, quarterfinal. Irish Derby, I like the plus a bit, I think. 10.5 just feels a bit too high for Irish Derby. I know Connacht, they're much better when they play at the sports ground at home. But I think the plus. But obviously not a very strong play. There's lots of other games that's better plays here. And the points,
probably the unders, Henrik.
The unders, because of the conditions and Aussie Derby, Island Derby. I think I said Aussie Derby earlier. Island Derby, local derby. You have to go unders on that probably. And especially with it being a knockout game as well. I don't think there will be a massive, expansive game. So unders, and I think Connacht might stay in the game as well.
Yeah, and I think that will suit the unders. If Connacht stay in the game, I think that'll work towards a tighter game as opposed to Ulster sort of running away with it and then perhaps conceding a couple of late tries or something along those lines. Right, let's move on to the next game. The Stormers up against the Blue Bulls. Well, the Blue Bulls last week, they pulled in some of the URC players into the Currie Cup. There was massive betting moves. The only thing I can say is thank goodness I was busy on Friday when the teams were announced because I missed the whole thing. By the time I woke up, the line had moved like 11 or 12 points. And in the end, thank goodness, because Western Province absolutely hammered them, beating them, I think it was 31-7 down there in Cape Town. I mean, it was a really big win for Western Province. And now how do the Bulls come back against the Stormers? Stormers here minus 6.5, and we got a points line of 51.5.
Brent, I'm going to attend this game. I'm going with my boy and some of his mates and their fathers. That type of game again. We're going to do.
I hope you're on the Stormers this time.
Well, I'm not there, so we'll see how that goes. But they won't know that. I know. I was lost. I didn't see the teams when it got announced with the Western Province Bulls one, and then I ended up taking Bulls -6, -7, and thereabouts, and obviously lost big time on that. I think I took some unders Western Province. I took overs on the Bulls. I lost big on that game, like a lot of guys.
And I think a lot of guys. Twitter was hell of a quiet after that game. I know you weren't really on Twitter too much last weekend, but
I was away.
And it was like my timeline was like a bit of a morgue. No one was saying anything.
Yeah, but I just get the sense that Jake, look, the Bulls haven't been great, and Jake he's had a lot of criticism. But I just feel that even though he picked the guys, the URC guys in that Currie Cup game last week, I think they might have held back a bit. Just maybe give the Western Province and Stormers a bit of more confidence that they should have. The Stormers, they haven't been great. Dion Ferru will probably be back, but he's been out of the game for a long while, so I'm not sure how good he will be. I'm a fan of his. And then you've got Mani Lebok, who's been playing horrible rugby. He doesn't belong at this level, in my opinion. It's a disgrace that he has been a Bok. I've never been a fan of his. So I can't back a team that has Mani Lebok at 10. I think the plus is the way to go. I'm calling the Bulls to win the game. And I think this will be an unders game. It's a 3:30 kickoff. 51.5. I'm happy to go unders on 51.5 points. Mani will miss a few kicks. And Dion might slow a few balls down for the Bulls. I think even with that, my only concern is Jaco Piper, because he's the ref here and he's an overs ref, sort of overs ref. But yeah, I like the unders here. I like the Bulls to win the game, but unders on Delta points is my stronger fancy on this one.
I just want to bring up this comment from Farid. This is, of course, on last week's game, and just for our Irish guys like Mark Dunphy, interested to know if they can figure what this means. Bulls ons almal gemoer last week. Was the case. Henrik, interesting week. I'm kind of leaning against you here on this one. I like the Stormers. I've taken a view for quite a while now that things are not well in the Bulls camp, and I think the Stormers can be able to capitalize on that. I think the handicap's well set.
All things well in the Stormers camp?
I don't know. I just feel I do feel who was it who was saying up here? Farid was saying the Stormers have hit a bit of the ceiling, and I won't argue with that. I do feel that they've not played the sort of rugby they were a few weeks ago, but I think they're going to have too much for this Bulls side. So I'm leaning towards the Stormers there, but a lot more nervously than I was at the start of the show.
I'll tell you confidently that neither of these two teams will make the final. They won't get past the semi-finals.
Yeah, when they I suppose does it depend which one? I suppose it depends all on the results. But I suppose if the Stormers win, would they get a home semi-final?
I'm not sure about that, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter where they play or who wins here. I can't see one of these. Both these teams are playing bad rugby, and that's why I like the unders as well. So yeah, I can't see any of these two teams making the final. We won't have a South African team in the final this year.
Yeah, I can probably agree with that. Farid disagreeing a bit on Mani, and yeah, I don't mind old Mani. I tend to agree with Henrik. He's not Springbok material, but I think he does a job at this sort of level. Farid said Ulster v Leinster. Ulster v Leinster final. There must be quite a strong chance of that. Right, let's move on to the next game here, and it is Leinster, fresh off a very convincing win over Toulouse last week in the Handicap Championship Cup semis. Although no. They got a red card, which in my opinion, the opponents got a red card that shouldn't have been. But already at that stage, you got the feeling Leinster were very much in control of the game. They just looked so good. And the only thing for me about Leinster, Henrik, is they got one hell of a schedule. If they're going to go all the way in two competitions, good news for them, they're all at home. But they got 5 really tough games in a row. One of which they played. Now they play the Sharks. Looking at that handicap, though, you wonder if this is considered a tough game for them.
That's a big handicap on a Sharks team full of stars, eh? But obviously the Sharks, they had to travel. The Sharks have been poor the last few weeks. That Munster game, the Sharks played against Munster in Durban. That cost me badly. It's probably going to be one of those cases where every man in his dark on Leinster minus here. I saw a few articles saying that the Sharks they have mission impossible here. They have that travel and not whatnot, and that makes me nervous. I remember last year the Bulls going there, also mission impossible, and they beat Leinster. I can't. The Sharks won't beat Leinster. Let's be honest about that. Leinster will win this game. But I'm nervous taking the minus here. The minus is the way to go. You probably can't. But yeah, this is one of those games that a lot of guys will probably fancy here. I'm not going to get involved a lot in this game, Brent. There's much better games to get involved in my opinion. The previous game, under some points for me, classic example, better bet. I don't feel this game, to be honest. I'm not sure. Have you got a stronger fancy than me in this one?
I've got a reasonable view on this one. I'm leaning more towards Leinster, but interestingly enough, Farid's going to make a comment, which I'll bring up now. Just Cathal, they're saying, throw everything you can at Leinster. That sounds almost like Oracle type of comment there. Farid saying Leinster to walk this cap in the first half. And Farid, it's interesting you say that, because my angle on this game is and I hate halftime handicaps. Henrik knows that. Neither of us are the best at halftime handicaps. Yeah. But I like Leinster to get the job done early here. And one of my reasons for that is I think that's what they're going to target, because they got such a hard schedule. I can see a situation where Leinster and Ireland and Leinster, they score points early. They keep possession. Before you know it, they've got 2 tries on the board. I see them beating the halftime handicap comfortably, and then potentially pulling some of their star players off and saving them now for, and then maybe that'll let the Sharks back in. So I'm a bit wary about the main handicap, but I actually like Leinster to deliver. I guess that'll be somewhere around -8.5, -9.5.
Yeah. 8.5, 9.5.
And and just looking down, there's been quite a lot of comments while I've been talking there. And unfortunately, the Sharks stars are darker than Eskom. Unfortunately, when the Sharks pick a star-studded side, it doesn't really guarantee everything. Stephen Marks has taken Sharks points over 19.5. And Mark, we didn't expect anything less from you there, Mark. Leinster will win by 20 plus. If I'm pushed on the handicap, I'm on Leinster, I must be honest, because I do like them on the.
That is probably the better. But that is probably the way to go. I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, geez, lots of guys. This is definitely a game that sparked opinion. I can't keep up with the comments, but generally speaking, not everyone, generally speaking, the majority of guys are in the Leinster camp. Right. You can hear this week I've been battling with my voice a little bit. I'm coaching or involved in coaching my son's rugby team now, so doing a bit of shouting. And let's move on to the next game. It's the final quarter-final. We got a real tight one here. Glasgow opened, I think, -2.5, -3.5. I did suggest at the time as well that Munster could be the value, as obviously quite a few punters did. Munster now narrow favourites for this game. We got a points line of 50.5. I did look at the weather in Glasgow, and it's a couple of days out, obviously, but it looked like it's raining for this one, Henrik.
Yeah, Brent, of all the 4 the quarterfinals for the URC, this one is my strongest fancy. I like Munster to win here. They've been great under Graham Roundtree. He's impressed me a lot. I'm definitely a fan of his as a coach. They came to South Africa and they beat the Stormers. They almost beat the Sharks. They are playing good rugby. Glasgow, a few weeks ago, Glasgow gave them hammering. They beat them easily. But I expect Munster to win this one. I like Munster strongly here. I'm not sure about the points on this one, but Munster, the best price you can get on Munster to win. You can actually take a -2 or -3.5 on Munster as well. I think a Munster, strong bet on them to win the game.
I also like Munster leaning unders just because it looked like conditions were not great. And I can tell you, the boys in the live chat, Chris coming in, Munster getting my money, Johan Munster, virtually everyone saying Munster. The other thing that for me makes a difference in this game, or influenced my decision slightly, Henrik, Glasgow have now got themselves through to the final of the Challenge Cup. So they've got something big to aim for aside from this. And I'm not suggesting for a second they're going to say, well, we're not going to pitch up for the quarterfinal. But I just think mentally, their focus, their season will be a massive success if they can win the Challenge Cup, as opposed to losing to Leinster in the semi-finals of the URC. Yeah. For me, I think Munster have got this to play for, and I just think that's going to give Munster an edge here. So looks like we're all aligned, and just a reminder that our weekly newsletter, Best Bet, goes out. It'll either be tomorrow morning or afternoon, and there must be a decent chance that Munster could be right up there. If you haven't subscribed yet, go down below the show and hit the subscribe button. It's nothing serious, a bit of fun we have, but also try and take the bookies out as well. Right, so we're united on that one. That brings us to the end then of the URC, and Henrik, we're going to move on to the Currie Cup now. I don't know that I haven't really seen if we've got any teams yet. I know the Friday teams are probably out, but I think the others normally come out on Friday. But we'll run through this. We got Griquas plus 11.5 against Lions. For me, Griquas the big disappointment of the season so far. They just haven't delivered. And Lions last week, very convincing win over the Pumas. And of course, I haven't seen the team news. Sorry, been a bit hectic today, but I'm expecting even more perhaps of the URC players to be in there now because they've got nothing else to play for. And my gut tells me that Lions can beat this handicap.
Brent, I'm looking at the Lions team here. I didn't see any rugby last week. Watch any rugby. I was away for the weekend, remote area where there wasn't any TV or signal or whatever. This Lions team, I'm not sure how it compares to last week's one, but I checked their Twitter now, so I see the Lions team. It doesn't look that great in my opinion. So yeah, I'm unsure, and I can't back Griquas because they have been terrible. So we'll have to have a look at some kind of points play on this one. What's the kickoff? It's a 3. It's in Kimberley. 3:40 and Morne van Ferreira the ref. What's the handicap 11 of Brent? I'm gonna be in the Griquas camp here. Griquas plus for me. Griquas overs. Griquas with the outside chance to win this game. But yeah, I'm not sure how it compares to last week's Lions team, but don't like the Lions team I see on paper here. So yeah,
right. I haven't had a look at it yet, so I'll have a look at that. You hadn't saying a high-scoring Lions win. I think that's quite a possibility in this game. And Stephen saying he can't touch that cap. Fareed, I don't know how many URC players are back. I haven't seen it there. I know last week they didn't bring them all back, but I was impressed with them last week. For me, the Lions seem to have turned perhaps a little bit of a corner, but I'd be a bit nervous of this handicap as well. Although if pushed, I would actually be leaning towards the Lions. Let's move on to the next game. We've got the Pumas up against the Griffins. The Pumas last week, disappointing against the Lions, the way they were shut out. But if we only have to go back about 3 weeks to see when they hammered the Griffins, what was it, 62 something or other? I mean, like that, 30 and a half is big, but a lot of people expecting Stonehouse to have the Pumas fired up for this one and to come back against the Griffins.
Yeah, interesting. This game not being played at Mbombela. It's at a different, a smaller club in Nelspruit somewhere. I saw the conductor tweeting that.
I saw that as well.
He was a lot led to that, and he told that to us on Twitter. So yeah, thanks to him. Even though the game is not at the Mbombela, I think the minus is the way to go. Yeah, like you say, it's a big handicap, but against the Griffins side, that they struggle to score points at times. So you need the Pumas to score 5 tries more than the Griffins, which you can easily see if you break it down that way. So I think, the Pumas minus the way to go here, and probably overs on Pumas points as well, whatever that would be, probably 48, 49 thereabouts. Not sure. I can see them scoring. No, it won't be that high, because how high will the Griffins points be?
I would imagine the points line will be about 66 and a half here. Hey, that's what I'm thinking. So take the 30 or 38.
So then it is about 50 points thereabouts for them. But I can see the Pumas scoring 50 points here, and I like but I'd like the minus more than the overs on total points, or overs on Pumas points.
No one says he's leaving this game. Johan comes in with his weekly treble. Rebels plus 10.5, drew over 26.5 for Munster, 5.8 to 1. I saw
I like all three of those.
Up earlier. Sorry, you like that one, Henrik?
Yeah, I like all three of those. You're not convinced about the Drua one, I think, but yeah, I like those 3.
Right, yeah. This is just on the previous game. Walter White coming in and saying, Jock, the defense coach for the Lions, he's not expecting that one to be a high-scoring game. Okay, so let me give you my view on the Pumas game, and let me give you my view on the stadium. I think it's an advantage that they're not playing at the Mbombela Stadium there. And the reason I say that is, let's just say they get 5,000 people to an average game in Nelspruit. I don't know how many they get. But, that's a huge stadium. It was designed for World Cup soccer. I actually went to watch a World Cup soccer game there. And I think if you cram those same 5,000 or 7,000 people into a smaller, more compact stadium for the Pumas, it might actually help them. So I'm very much aligned with you. For me, the ground is actually potentially a positive. And if anything, is swaying me more towards the minus here, or Pumas points. So, I think we're very much in the same camp there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so let's see. I mean, I often come up with these great theories. They don't often deliver on paper, though. That's the problem. Fareed saying he likes Blues, Chiefs, and Leinster tonight. Right, let's see. We're working our way down. We've got 2 games left to go. And we've got the Cheetahs -5.5 against Western Province. Now, Henrik, I must tell you, this is a game I've struggled with. So I'm interested to hear your views here. But I was actually, if anything, leaning probably an overs play if once we get a line, if it's not too high.
Yeah, Brent, this game was originally scheduled for 3 o'clock kickoff in Bloemfontein. They moved it earlier to 1 o'clock to accommodate the people to watch the URC game between the Stormers and Bulls as well on TV or wherever. Yeah, in my opinion, the Cheetahs they've gone backwards. They're not what they used to be, and then Western Province they are playing good rugby. But then again, the Cheetahs came down to Cape Town a few weeks ago and they beat Western Province by 9 points. So that 5 points it does look low. So on the handicap, tough for me going against Western Province because they are playing really good rugby. But I think the minus is the way to go, yeah. But points might be a better bet. Paul Mente is the ref. I'm not a fan of his, but yeah. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. Yeah, I think with the handicap being that low, you probably might have to go Cheetahs over points. But now I'm going to contradict myself again. The Western Province defense, from what I've heard, was very good against the Bulls last week. So yeah, I'm not sure, Brent.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Fareed and Province's rubbish. I mean, I say Fareed, I disagree with you there. I think I was very impressed with him against the Bulls last week, and that's why I say I'm finding this an incredibly tough game to call. Guys, just a reminder.
Cheetahs minus. Cheetahs minus.
Yeah, it's. I see the majority of sentiment in the live chat is for the Cheetahs minus. Just a reminder, if you do enjoy the show, give us a like. It really helps the channel ratings, help us to pull more subscribers in. We've got a World Cup here. We've got some bigger plans ahead. Let's see the remaining easy win for Stephen. Fareed saying that Jean-Luc's still streaming at his own guys. And afternoon game in Bloem, that's true. So conditions should be good. And yeah, the Bulls didn't come to play Fareed. I can't really argue with you on that one. But I was quite impressed with Province. Right, let's go on to the next game. That's the Bulls up against the Sharks. I'm quickly going to look. There's a +2.5 handicap. I actually handicapped this game as +7.5 Bulls. So I must say, from the start, Henrik, I'm swaying towards the Sharks. Yeah, I haven't been impressed by the Bulls Currie Cup side.
I'm with you, Brent. And I've actually been impressed with the Sharks Currie Cup side. They've been really impressive. Their forwards playing very good. So yeah, I like the minus here. I think you can take a bigger minus, even though the game is at Loftus in Pretoria. Jadisweni, the ref, unfit Jadisweni. So yeah, you have to be wary of overs when he's on the ref. But yeah, I think Sharks the way to go. And unders on Bulls points. The Sharks, they haven't conceded a lot of points. So yeah, I like the Bulls unders and the Sharks to win. The Sharks minus, yeah.
Right, I'm just laughing at your comment on the ref. Imagine him coming across this and just hearing but I know what you mean. You always hear him breathing in the microphone. It's like effects mic.
It seems unfit.
Sounds like me after I just walk up a couple of stairs here at home, I can tell you. But that brings us to the end of the Currie Cup. And we're going to get on to the best bets now in just a second and see what Henrik has got for us there. Henrik, what are your strongest fancies on the weekend?
Now, Brent, you're a bit fast on me. No, I haven't had a good thought about the...
Give it a thought. Give it a bit of a think there, no rush.
I'm quickly running through the games, just checking. Sorry. Okay, in Super Rugby, I'll get to my best out of the lot. In Super Rugby, I like the Rebels. I like that Rebels Plus. I think they can compete with the Brumbies. And in URC, I like the Munster to win the most. So it's between those two for me. I haven't got a strong fancy on the Currie Cup this week. So it's either Munster to win or Rebels on the plus. I think Munster to win. I think that's my best bet, and the Rebels plus is second.
Right. Well, we'll see. I got back on track last week with the newsletter, so hopefully we can have a winner in the newsletter tomorrow as well.
So you're not going to give us your best bet yet. You're going to keep that.
I must say, I do like that Munster play quite a bit. In fact, I also need to sort of look back. Let me look back quickly at the games. I'll just give you my strong fancies in that. I think.
And the Waratahs to beat the Reds. That's
Waratahs outright. I like Munster outright. Blues, yeah, okay. That points line was very different to what I originally put it down at. So probably no firm views there. And I quite like unders tomorrow night at Ulster and Leinster halftime cap, but I'll never make a halftime cap my best bet. That is without question. And looking at the Currie Cup, yes, the Pumas is where I'm looking there. I think the Pumas are going to absolutely fire at whatever stadium they're playing at there. So, yeah, we'll definitely have a good double-digit ACCA for the newsletter tomorrow.
That's what I wanted to say. It's got a nice multiple there.
Yeah, plenty to go. Let's just have a look at some of the comments before we sign off. 2M Systems quartet for this week. He says Chiefs -19.5, Blues -29, Ulster 14.5. Gee, he's saying it's 50-1 this week, not 75-1. How'd you go last week with your 75-1 shot there, 2M Systems? I remember you posting it, but I didn't make a note of them. Sure. Let's have a look if there's any more best bets before we go. Right, I think that brings us.
Brent, I see Farid's comment about Super Rugby delivering well. The Super Rugby has been quite consistent with the results. There haven't been like big upsets this year. So, yeah, it's in my opinion easier Super Rugby to bet on this year than previous years. So, yeah, you haven't got.
I agree with you. The results have been quite consistent.
Yeah. And I see Reverend on the Rebels again.
Yeah, he's on the Rebels again. Reverend, you've arrived at work yet there in New Zealand? I know you normally type and you type, listen, and drive at the same time. Incredibly talented. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. TM Systems had a big win last week, so well done to you. Nice. And cheers to all the boys in the live chat. It was, as I say, that Leinster game. I don't think I've ever seen so many comments for one game. I just couldn't keep track. Just while the show's ending, my voice is pretty much going to end soon as well. And Hendrik, it was great having you on the show, mate. So have a great punting weekend.
Thanks, Brent. Yeah, nice talking rugby again, and good luck to you and all the guys out there. Yeah, pick the games, and yeah, hopefully we are close with those that best bet. Enjoy the games.
Yeah, let's hope so. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, which I think will be just ahead of the URC semi-finals for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters.